Hi, I'm Teresa Fox, and I'll be guiding you through this program. But before we can start learning how to deal with stress, we first have to know what stress is. When asked what causes stress for most people, they'll answer either a person or a situation. For example, my spouse, my kids, my mother, my sister, my boss, a particularly irritating coworker, or a situation like a financial situation, health issues, the state of the world, whatever else might be going on external to them. But actually, external factors don't cause stress. Only one thing can cause stress, and that's you. Stress is caused by your perception of those external factors and how threatening or demanding you perceive those factors to be. The definition of stress actually comes from physics. It means a force exerted on a material that causes strain or deformation. If you put pressure on a piece of metal, for example, and it bends, that's considered stress. It wasn't applied to biology or human beings until 1936. It's only within the last 100 years that stress has really been applied as a word to human beings at all. Hans Selye, a biologist, was doing some experiments in 1936 and discovered that he was seeing repeated patterns of ulcerated stomachs, enlarged adrenal glands, and shrunken lymphoid tissue. And he noticed these changes and said something must be precipitating them. He called that phenomenon stress. Since that time, definitions have included physical, mental, or emotional strain as a response to change or a desire to return to equilibrium. But for something to really classify as stress, it has to be creating a response in the body. The definition I like to use is the physiological changes in your body due to external factors that are perceived as threatening harm, loss, or misfortune, or as demanding more than you have in resources or capabilities. Perception is such a key part of stress. Not everyone exposed to the same external factors has the same reaction at all. Often, others experiencing the exact same circumstances don't feel any stress. Stress comes from feeling that there are threats, whether those be real or fantasized or just plain overblown. It's your perception that something is threatening you, not the actual fact of whether you are under threat or not. Or your perception of the resources that you have and whether you can really bring them to bear on the situation, or whether that would leave you feeling overwhelmed. In order to feel stress, you have to be able to remember past events or anticipate the future. Let's say you have financial difficulties. Perhaps you overspent, didn't save enough money, and now you've lost your job, and you stand to lose your house. One person in that situation might perceive it as a tragedy. Oh my God, I'm about to lose my house. I could be homeless. But another person faced with the same circumstances might say, it's okay if I lose my house because I can always move in with my mother. They have a different perception about what resources are available for them to bring to bear on the situation. A third person might say, oh my God, I'd rather be homeless than have to live with my mother. The irony is the second and third person might have the same mother. They just have different perceptions about how awful it would be to have to live with her. It's possible to reduce stress just by reframing a situation so that you don't see it as the most extreme, most terrible case that could ever possibly occur. That doesn't mean you're telling yourself a lie. You wouldn't be saying, for example, that it's okay that I'm losing my house. I'm actually happy about it and will be happier living in an apartment or living with my mother. But you are saying all the emotions that I've put around this situation, the interpretations I've placed on it, that it's terrible, that it's the worst thing that could happen to me. What will the neighbors think? Of course I've lost my house. I've been so stupid about money. Why can't I ever get anything right? When you place those kinds of stories around the situation, it becomes much more difficult to see the facts clearly and see what your possible solutions are. So reframing just means looking at it and saying, okay, I'm going to lose my house. I'm not happy about it. I'd obviously rather continue to have my house than move in with my mother. But after a few years, I'll be able to rebuild my credit. I'll be able to get another house someday. And in the meantime, I've learned a really valuable lesson about how to manage my money, and I'm going to take that and move forward with it. By reframing a situation, you stop defining everything that occurs as if it's an emergency to your body. Stress is defined by a particular physiological response we see in the body. It's called the fight or flight response. It's been around since the beginning of time, and it exists to protect you in the situation where you're being chased by a predator and suddenly need to run fast or punch hard in order to escape. So the changes that occur in the body are very helpful in that circumstance, but aren't necessarily very interesting if your stress is related to having a Word document that just won't save, or paper that's stuck in the printer, or perhaps you're late picking up your kids from soccer practice. In those situations, it's not really helpful to have these same changes occurring in the body. The changes are all designed around making your body able to function in that emergency. So your heart rate increases. Your blood pressure increases, your respiration increases to try and pump up that energy that's available to send blood flow to your arms and your legs so you can do the running and punching we were talking about. When the blood flow goes to the extremities, it's coming away from key parts of your system that you need for ordinary activity but are less important in that situation, like your brain, your digestive system, your immune system. It's not really important whether you're coming down with a cold if you're being chased by a predator. And your reproductive system. Your body starts producing less insulin and more adrenaline, epinephrine, and cortisol. Your liver starts breaking down glycogen, so you have energy available to you to get that extra burst when you need it. When these changes occur just for a short period of time while you're running, and the chase will be over in 10 minutes, there's no harm done. But unfortunately today, we stay in a chronic state of being under stress much of the time, where we're continually sending the signals to our cells that they need to be on alert. Chronic stress creates much more serious problems. We get health issues, depleted energy, obsessive behaviors, anxiety, depression. Many of the things that we're dealing with come from continually maintaining a state of alert. In fact, 90% of doctors' office visits are related to stress, and it's growing. According to the World Health Organization, over the last 30 years, self-reported stress levels in women are up 18% and in men up 25%. So it's becoming a bigger and bigger problem. The issue isn't how quickly you become stressed or how intensely you feel the stress. It's how long you stay in it. Studies done by the Center for Investigating a Healthy Mind have shown that the reaction in the amygdala that comes initially is not as important as how long the response recovery time is after the fact. So working with techniques that help you to release it once it's occurred are very important. A key part of perception is interpreting circumstances based upon limiting core beliefs that we've held for a long time. Limiting core beliefs just frame the entire experience in a different way. Some of the most common core beliefs are that I'm a victim and am not in control of my life, that others will always let me down, or that I'm just plain not good enough. In the first case, where I believe that I'm a victim, I might always think that life isn't fair, that everything seems stacked against me, that life is really just a lot of chaos and there's nothing I can do about it. There's no way for me to make sense out of it all. I might believe I can only be happy if my spouse changes, my job changes, something else is responsible for my happiness. I might believe that if anything good happens, it will someday be taken away. Often, people who believe they're a victim cling to the past and are resistant to change. The feeling is that I'm just not in control, and the fear is that if I'm not in control, something terrible will happen. The second core belief is that everyone will always let me down. I can't trust anyone. They won't be there to support me when I need them. I'll always be abandoned or rejected. Or perhaps I look at the others and judge them against some standard that they can't live up to. That I'm hypercritical and always finding fault in what they do. I may believe others are to blame for my troubles. I might feel resentment and bitterness. And the fear is that others are somehow going to harm me, at least emotionally. The third core limiting belief is that I'm not good enough, that no matter how hard I try, I'll never quite be able to achieve what I set out to achieve. That I'm not worthy, that somehow I don't deserve happiness or love or financial success. That because of my guilt or shame, that whatever bad happens to me, it's deserved. The feeling is, I'm not worthy. And the fear is that I'll never quite be good enough. Decades of reinforcing these core limiting beliefs can literally wear a track in the brain. Neuroscientists are finding that our brains continue to grow and we build more and more neurons connecting different parts of the brain based upon what we experience on an ongoing repetitive basis. Now, luckily, the good news in that is that your brain never stops changing, that you can, because of the neuroplasticity of the brain, build new neural pathways and send a positive message and make positive connections at any point. It's never too late. Beliefs, thoughts, and emotions are also stored in the heart and the gut. We've discovered we have just as many neurotransmitters in the heart and the gut as we do in the brain. We actually store emotions and beliefs throughout the body, in the very cells. You know that you think in all three places. How often do you say, I know in my heart, or I feel in my gut? We do carry thoughts throughout the body, and we hang on to them. So practice is to help us release those things that have gotten stuck down in the cellular memory, can also help while at the same time working on rewiring the networks in the brain. The key is to stop replaying the same victim stories and to start releasing the emotions that are stuck and moving on. This program will help you work with all the aspects of core limiting beliefs. It'll help you with resilience and empowerment, self-compassion, self-acceptance, forgiveness, and releasing judgment against others. It also contains exercises to help you calm the mind and relax, which can help you deal with stress in the moment that it's arisen. But some of these fundamental practices will help you head off stress before it starts, because without that perception, stress doesn't form in the first place. So let's get started.